Hello to all the Web3 enthusiasts out there. This is Max speaking, and welcome to the new exciting episode of Synopsis. Today I'm hosting this one with Adrian Fritz, the head of research at 21Shares. Hi, Adrian, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always a pleasure, and always a pleasure to see this high level of preparations. And this is the example for all our guests uh, how to present yourself for the new audience. It's the first time Adrian is here, and I do hope that not the last one. And this means that today's discussion is going to be devoted to creating the general image of what you guys in 21 Shares are doing. And the questions will be kind of mixed from these and these sides, but I believe you will deal with it easily. And to
I
warm
hope so,
up,
yeah.
yeah, to begin, before the recording, we discussed my path in crypto. Could you please go ahead and tell our audience how you, Adrian, got into crypto? What was your personal journey in this industry?
I mean, I love that question, right? Because everyone has his story when it comes to how we ended up in that space. Mine actually started in 2012. So I bumped into Bitcoin just out of curiosity. I had a friend, he studied computer science, and he told me about Bitcoin. And I was fascinated. Back then, I was still a student. I didn't have a lot of money to spend, but I understood that there's a limited supply and that there's something going on. So I actually, back then, I asked my stepdad to get some money to invest in Bitcoin. Bitcoin was at around $2. And yeah, he said like, are you crazy to spend that on some weird internet money? But I followed the price action and it actually went up to, yeah, almost $1,000. And at that point, he finally gave me a bit of money that I also invested. But then 1 week later, the whole market crashed. I lost 80%. I sold and I gave back the remaining money back to my stepdad. So it was a huge lesson for me, but I got hooked. That was also the reason why I actually studied finance, why I wanted to work in finance. And yeah, the only thing was I kind of stopped tracking it for a couple years. I moved more into traditional finance. So most of my career was more in merger and acquisitions, from investment banking to management consulting to corporate M&A. But then from 2016, I kind of was part of the ICO craze. I discovered Ethereum. I was back in the space, but more as a hobby. But then over 4 years ago, I finally had the chance to make my love for crypto also my profession, and that's when I joined 21 Shares and went full time crypto basically. So yeah, it's been a long journey, a lot of missed opportunities, but I'm sure in retrospect it's always easy. We all know that, but I couldn't be at a happier place. I would say it's the best industry.
Sounds awesome. So thanks for sharing a great story and great to see how the learned lessons bring you to the right place. So not just going crazy, not to give up, but learning the lessons, learning more stuff, finance, and here we go. And a great example about your stepdad's investments. So the main question in those times was when to sell. The answer was when your parents are starting to ask you what is Bitcoin. And actually, this is a great example. And anyways, there might be losses or some profits, but still 2012 is far ahead of the crowd, I would say. And it also aligns with what you guys in 21 Shares do. 21 Shares actually offered the world's first crypto exchange traded products back in 2018. And this required a certain vision and perseverance. Could you tell us why did the company choose the cryptocurrency industry?
Excellent question. So the story of 21 Shares is a fascinating one. So our two co-founders, Henny Rashwan and Ophelia Snyder, they actually wanted their mothers looked for a way to invest in Bitcoin in 2016 already. And what they found is basically that it's really hard to access the space. There was still a massive technical hurdle to actually get exposure to crypto. And that was really the ideation and the start for Henny and Ophelia to come together and to build 21 shares and basically, yeah, wrap those digital token, wrap Bitcoin into a traditional financial product. And that's when in 2018, we launched the world's first physically backed Bitcoin ETP. So that's really the story. It was two mothers that wanted to invest in Bitcoin.
Wow. So everything starts with the needs of parents. That's a
Exactly.
That's a great case. And actually, as in your first answer about how your stepdad treated crypto as the weird internet money, said you crazy or something like this, I believe that in the institutional field, and it was kind of the same in 2018. And could you tell us what has changed in the way your company is treated in the world of TradFi compared to 2018 and now?
I would say a lot has changed. A couple of years ago, it was really tough to first get a meeting and then even talk about crypto. The skepticism and the critiques were still there. A lot of misconceptions in the market as well. We all know that, yeah, they titled Bitcoin as a Ponzi scheme, as a scam. So back then it was, yeah, a lot of people laughed at it, I would say. So they didn't really take it seriously. And when we spoke to those investors, it required a lot of education. And I think that's also the spirit at 21 Shares, that we really want to lead with education because we know how important it is to help those traditional investors navigate through this new asset class. So it took a lot of meetings over many years to really help them with their crypto journey. The rewarding thing is though that now we're seeing kind of the fruits of our labor. So especially over the last, I would say, 18 months, a lot has changed. And yeah, they're interested. So it really went from skepticism to education, and now it's moving into adoption. And people start allocating, and they remember the hard work that we put in over the last couple of years, and that's fascinating to see.
Yeah, sounds awesome. And I believe you might call yourself a happy person because what can be better than overcoming and beating this skepticism and seeing the real fruits of your vision? We all know this list, including the steps of being laughed at, and what is in the end, you win. Well, sounds great. And actually, what I might add is that you started the real contribution for the mass adoption long before even the talks about it began. So everyone is speaking about it now and how it is going, and you started it like an era ago. And my applause for that. And we're moving on. In the previous answer, you mentioned physical backing of some of your assets. So could you please tell us more about how actually this physical backing happens in 21 shares?
Absolutely. So yeah, what we offer are ETPs and ETFs, and all of these products are physically backed. That means if you hold a share of one of our products, the actual token or the actual coin is being bought as well. How the setup basically works is that we work together with institutional grade custodians that safeguard those assets. But yeah, it's not some sort of derivative or some paper shares. There's actual real buying pressure behind those ETPs and those ETFs, and that's really important.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying. And as it all started with two mothers, also more parents were involved, I believe, in the beginning. What about now? Could you please tell us who is an average investor in 21Shares products now?
I would say the majority is still retail. I mean, the crypto market is retail driven, retail born, which is very different from maybe other asset classes that were first institutional and then moved into retail adoption. So it's really the retail market that drives the crypto adoption. However, also here, if we look at our investor base, I would say some early movers were obviously high net worth individuals, and also family offices. So family offices usually are a bit more nimble with the decision making, and also you have a lot of change in generations. So basically, there's a young guy or girl coming in, taking over the family office, and they obviously want to explore something like digital assets. So yeah, family offices for many years already have been pioneers when it comes to the adoption. Now, another big investor base, I would say, are hedge funds. We especially see this in the US. If we look at the 13F filing, we see a lot of big names of hedge funds. The adoption here is a bit different because they usually have more of a strategic trading opportunity. So there is a thing called the basis, the basis trade. So what they basically do is they buy ETF shares for their long leg, and they short the CME futures, and the premium that is on those futures, they're trying to capture that. And you usually see if that basis gets smaller, you see a lot of outflows of the ETFs. Now, the last point would be obviously big investors, big asset managers, big pension funds. Here we are still at the early innings, but we see more and more how those kind of firms and institutions already starting to tap into crypto, which is good to see. We're still early, I would say.
Awesome. So thanks for sharing. And it's a pretty detailed image of your user base, and great to see that you understand it and understand their needs. That's really valuable, I would say. And going on to the next question, could you please share your opinion on what is the most innovative product by 21Shares, and why do you think so?
That's a good question as well. I mean, in Europe, we offer a lot of staking products. What that means is if you buy one of those ETPs, there's a staking feature enabled, which means you not only get exposure to, let's say, Solana, but you also get exposure to the staking yield. And I find it a very convenient way to capture that yield, because again, if you want to do it directly, there's a lot of technical hurdles that you have to fight through. So for traditional investors, it's a very easy way to get it exposure and get an additional yield on top. And I think it's so important because it's a crypto native yield and a crypto native feature that is starting to make its way into the traditional world as well.
Wow, great. So Europe is doing great, actually. And what about the US? Is it getting easier to operate there right now with the current state of the market and policies?
Absolutely. Also here, a lot has changed. Obviously, given I would say the first milestone were the ETF approvals beginning last year. So obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum. The most successful ETF launch in history it really kind of bootstrapped the adoption in the US. And now, given the new US government and all the regulatory tailwinds that are happening, I think we do see a lot of change, and it's becoming easier to operate. And yeah, there are a lot of ETF applications outstanding. Obviously, I can't get into any details, but we do expect that the market will slowly opening up. We will see more products, hopefully, and therefore, in terms of adoption, we will also move ahead.
Awesome. Great to hear that. And what regions can you call as the key for expanding the product offerings of 21 Shares?
I would say, obviously, the US is a big focus, given that it's the biggest capital market in the world. It has a priority. And for now, we just have Bitcoin and Ethereum, but there's a bunch of long-tail crypto assets that potentially find its way into the market. Now, just to compare that to Europe, for instance, here we already have over 25 single trackers. So not only Bitcoin, Ethereum, but also stuff like Aave or Uniswap, Hyperliquid. So a lot of choices. Now, aside from the US, obviously, we always trying to look to expand into new markets. I would say around the globe, there's a lot of movement. Obviously, the Middle East is an attractive market. Some markets in Asia or South America, and yeah, stay tuned. We definitely want to make sure we provide more access around the globe.
Yeah, of course, a great call to action for everyone watching us to stay tuned, guys. Follow Adrian, follow 21 Shares, follow Synopsis on socials, not to miss the big things coming, and to always stay tuned. Awesome. And speaking about building the decentralized, I would say, industry in the kind of a decentralized world, what are the top challenges 21 Shares faces right now? Is it some level of acceptance, regional regulations, or what is it, and how do you deal with it?
I would say there are always challenges. I mean, I've been with the company for over 4 years now, but it feels like 40 years at times. But I would say at the moment is setting the right priorities. As we can see, the adoption curve is really accelerating. So we want to make sure we put the focus at the right place. And then also, of course, competition. And I would say when it comes to competition, it's a curse and a blessing, because obviously we have a lot of big traditional asset manager entering the space, and they do take a big chunk of the market share. But on the other side, the pie has still so much more room to grow. So the market is still small. Yeah, therefore, we expect the entire market to grow, but we do see a lot of competition heating up. And that's kind of where we want to make sure that we, are leading with education, but also with innovation, new products, and building a strong brand.
Well, sounds, I would say, really encouraging, and always a pleasure to hear that we're still too early being on board already. Awesome. And what about the big things coming and people should stay tuned for? Could you outline the plans of 21 Shares for the coming year? What should we expect?
But once again, I think from 21 Shares, you can expect more products coming out. Again, we have the largest offering of crypto ETPs in the market, and we want to keep it like that. So we want to make sure we push with more exciting products, but also with new initiatives. We want to look more into the active space, potentially looking at the VC space. So we want to broaden the offering that we have, but also want to make sure we serve with more products.
Sounds great. We'll be tracking your successes and following closely. And yeah, the time really flies by with this kind of very insightful and fluent discussion. We came up to the final phase with the several, I would say, personal questions, if you don't mind. So,
Of course.
awesome. The first one would be, from your perspective, in your personal opinion, what is the top, I would say, one, two, three, how many you can name, top Web3 innovations that most people overlook? What is the underestimated sector?
That's a very good question. I mean, it might not be a controversial take, but I think DeFi is a sector that people need to pay attention to. DeFi is one of the sectors. It's been around for many years now. A lot of times it has been titled boring, and as we seen in the last cycle, yeah, the attention quickly shifts to more exciting topics like the metaverse or NFTs or AI. But I think DeFi is really the one that has a clear value proposition and now also has the regulatory tailwinds. And we will see a lot of innovation when it comes to that. Not only on the real DeFi side, I mean, now looking at Aave, for instance, and its growth over the last couple of weeks and months, being kind of like in the top 40 of US banks, if you will, or Hyperliquid, which obviously is a fascinating story, just looking at how much revenue it produces, and also given that it had more trading volume in 3 consecutive months than Robinhood. So we see a clear shift and a clear momentum when it comes to DeFi. Of course, it also comes with risks, I would say, that shouldn't be underestimated. But overall, I would say DeFi is exciting, especially what I would look out for is more integrations into traditional finance. I mean, we clearly see that it's a disruptive technology, but in order to tap into the big money, there need to be some adjustments in order to make it more suitable for traditional investors. And I think we're seeing that. Aave Horizon, for instance, could be a fascinating one, replicating the same model, but for institutional adoption. So yeah.
Wow, brilliant answer. Thank you. Pretty detailed. And what I can mention is that it's not an innovation or trend, of course, but the part of the Web3 industry people are often underestimating is the risks also. Yeah. So guys, keep the risk management on.
Absolutely.
And also from the very beginning, we already know your first crypto investment steps. What about now? Do you personally invest in cryptocurrency right now? And if yes, what is your strategy?
That's an excellent question. Again, no financial advice. This is my personal opinion here. Of course, I'm invested in crypto. I would say when it comes to my strategy, I have 3 buckets. So first of all, I have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is king. There is no second best. So I have my long-term Bitcoin allocation where I keep on stacking and I'm holding it until forever. So that's really kind of like my safety stash, I would say. Bucket number 2, I would say, is more of a midterm portfolio. So that's where I have exposure to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, maybe some of the blue chip DeFi tokens, where I see potential, especially in the coming years. And my last bucket, I call it the degen bucket. That's where I really play around. That's why I do experiments where I do crazy stuff. I don't know, invest in meme tokens, trying out new protocols, doing liquidity provision, leverage trading, really kind of like, it's also where I learn, but also where I take the highest risk. And if the money goes, it's okay. But this is kind of like my overall strategy.
Well, sounds I would say easy on the one hand, but it's really difficult to follow this line, like having one bucket of the Bitcoin hold forever and not using it for any other Degen buckets. It really takes a certain attempt, because I know people who are trying to build this kind of strategy, diversifying their finance, cutting them into 3, 2, 4 buckets, but in the end they finish it up with just putting everything into the one Degen bucket and losing it all, then starting again with a new approach. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, this takes over. And
Yeah, you're right. When greed kicks in, right? We think we know better than the market, and then we get humbled, and that's why we're still in the cycles.
yeah, so true. So no FOMO, no greed, some balance, work-life balance, mental health, and keep it going.
100%.
Awesome. And we came up to the final traditional question we ask our guests to share. So it's an open one. Could you please go ahead with addressing directly to our audience with some piece of advice, sharing some wisdom, call to action, whatever you find useful for people to hear right now. So please take your time.
I would say stay curious, and yeah, keep on educating yourself. I think that's always have an open mind, especially when it comes to crypto or even other technologies. Just talking to a lot of those traditional folks, you sometimes see how they are stuck up with certain pre-assumptions and misconceptions, but it's really important to always have an open mind. I always say making a 180 is really important. So when you feel like you're wrong, there shouldn't be no ego. So for me, the most successful and most intelligent people are the ones that are able to do a 180 when they see that they're in the wrong. And we've seen this many times in the industry as well.
Wow, awesome. That's the best ending I could even expect. So for today, that's it. Thank you very much, Adrian. I might say that it was insightful and even, how to say, a cozy discussion. We'll be happy to see you in more episodes. And if our viewers share my vision, so guys, thumbs up, comments to see Adrian in more episodes. And for today, that's it. Thank you, Adrian, for joining.
Thanks for having me. And again, always happy to come back with any topic that you might want to discuss.
Okay, we'll keep in touch. And of course, thanks for everyone for watching us till the end. Guys, be curious, be active, educate yourself, stay tuned, follow Adrian, follow 21Shares to stay tuned, and see you in more episodes. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.